A rusted door screamed. A boy whispered, "Don't make a sound." Somewhere below ground, chains clicked like teeth. In the dark, a motorcycle key scraped concrete, hope shaped like metal. By morning, Coalbridge would wake to 180 engines and a choice: fear or the courage to open their doors. Welcome to EM Facts. Before we start this story, tell us where in the world you are watching from. And if you believe kindness should never die, please subscribe and help us keep stories like this alive. Coalbridge slept with shoulders hunched against the wind. Two kids walked the service road behind the rail yard, hands in the same jacket pockets because there was only one jacket. Micah Rook, 15, was hungry in ways that didn't all live in his stomach. His sister Elowen, 13, counted window lights like prayers. Their rule: fix what you can for neighbors, refuse money, accept food. Under the I-7 overpass, a motorcycle coughed and went quiet, headlight painting the concrete in a trembling cone. The rider coasted to the curb, boot scraping. He pulled off his helmet, eyes road-tired, and tried for a smile that didn't hold. "Name's Gage Harlow," he said. "Either of you know chains?" Micah did. He knew bicycles, mowers, and the washer in Mrs. Dunn's basement that forgot how to drain. Machines wanted to live if you listened. He knelt, touched the slack like a doctor checking a pulse. Induan held the flashlight, hands steady despite the cold, and asked, "Where are you headed, Mr. Harlow?" The chains sagged like a tired sentence. Ilowen's fingers, nimble from freeing knots in thrift store laces, eased the master link. Micah checked the valves by feel, remembering how their mother had taught him to listen to machines like birds, each sound a feather with meaning. Gage crouched but kept scanning the river road, jaw tight, helmet strap hanging like a question. Under the overpass, water dripped a slow clock. "Who's chasing you?" Elowen asked gently, not because it was safe to ask, but because something in Gage's silence felt like a room with no windows. "Bad men," he said at last. "Men who break people quietly." Micah felt the words land, and filed them beside nights when sirens passed Coalbridge without stopping. He snugged the axle, set the tension, and nodded. Gage reached for his wallet. Micah lifted a palm. "No," he said. "You give money, we lose the reason we help." Gage blinked. "Then take this." Micah tightened the lock nut, breath steady, and waited for Gage to trust the silence. "Food, then," Gage tried, voice rough with gratitude and urgency. "Tomorrow I'll send breakfast." Elowen shook her head. "We don't take from people running." Gage hesitated, then reached for the tin and tucked it deeper. "Then take this." He offered his spare key, scuffed by miles. "If you ever hear engines and you're afraid, hold this until the fear moves." It sounded ridiculous and holy at once. Micah slid the key onto a string beside the pewter socket he wore for courage. The Harley caught on the second try, voice low and even. "Wherever you land," Elowen said, "don't land alone." Gage swallowed like the advice hurt. "If they come asking about me," he added, "say you fixed a lawnmower for a man named Nobody." He vanished into river mist. The siblings walked home, pockets empty, spirits bright. In the morning, the door to their one-room rental stood ajar. A drawer lay open like a mouth. Someone had been careful and thorough, and that scared them more. Nothing was broken that couldn't be cheaply replaced. That frightened them more. Whoever searched knew how to look without leaving rage behind. Micah checked the hiding nook under the floorboard. Still there, a paper envelope with bus money, a Polaroid of their mother at Lake Wynn, a folded list of winter jobs. Footprints like grey moons ringed the damp. Elowen crossed the room, fingers brushing the windowsill where frost mapped delicate continents. Outside, a van idled one street over. A cough, a door thunk. Micah peeked and saw a man leaning against the hood, coat too new for Coalbridge, hands too clean. Another stood in shadows with a phone pressed to his ear. The siblings didn't pack. There was nothing to pack. Ilawan slipped their mother's Polaroid into her sock. Micah tucked the bus envelope inside his waistband. The man at the hood smiled, as if he'd been patient and patience had finally paid. He lifted 2 fingers, and the van lights blinked twice. Signal received. They ran. Coalbridge's alleys taught them routes like veins teach blood. But the men knew the map too, and weren't in a hurry. Micah aimed for the only place with a steel door and people at all hours, the back of Penny's diner. Neon flickered. Friars hissed. The siblings burst inside. The cook started to swear on reflex before seeing their faces and swallowing the heat like a hot coal. "Freezer!" he barked, shoving a crate aside. They squeezed among bags of peas and the sharp smell of frost-burnt cardboard. The outside door thumped once, twice, then went quiet. Someone jiggled the latch to feel if fear moved behind it. Ilawan's breath clouded. Micah's hands shook. Not from cold, but from a knowledge that felt older than him. They hadn't just helped a biker. They had brushed a war. A phone buzzed in Micah's pocket. "Unknown number," he answered. A man's voice, smooth as ice. "Gage Harlow owes me a ledger." "Fetch him!" The line clicked dead. The latch jiggled again. The freezer door didn't open. It just whispered. A shift in air, metal sighing. Ilawan clutched Micah's sleeve. The cook's voice came muffled through frost, calm, but cracked at the edges. "They're gone. Don't move till the ice drips stop." 10 minutes stretched like hours. When the door creaked open, he handed them 2 paper cups of cocoa and a warning. "They ain't cops. They asked for the kids who fixed the biker's chain." Micah's mind replayed the man's leather jacket, the way Gage's eyes kept checking reflections. "He was hiding something," Ilawan murmured. The cook nodded. "Hide better. West tunnel past the mill. Nobody goes there but rats and ghosts." Outside the air tasted of rain and oil. They slipped through puddles, hearts sinking with their footsteps. Sirens started in the distance, too late and too neat, like someone ordered them. When they reached the tunnel mouth, Micah noticed fresh tire tracks in the mud. Big ones, motorcycles, dozens of them, and a mark on the wall drawn in chain grease, 2 wings and a key. Inside the tunnel, sound behaved like a ghost. Every drip doubled, every breath returned, changed. Ilawan traced the symbol with trembling fingers. "He left it for us." Micah knelt beside her. "Or for them." The roar came before the light, engines low and disciplined. They pressed into a side recess as shadows swept the walls. Riders, leather jackets painted with the same wings and key emblem. The lead biker stopped, visor lifting to reveal the weary face they knew. Gage. He dismounted slowly, motioning his crew to kill their lights. "You shouldn't be here," he hissed. "They found you?" Micah's voice cracked. "They were in our house." Gage exhaled hard. "Then it's worse than I thought. Those men work for Richter Vale. He runs pain for profit. Prison camps no one admits exist." Ilawan's whisper trembled. "Why us?" "Because you showed mercy. People like that don't understand mercy. It exposes them." Gage's hand went to his jacket, pulling out a flash drive sealed in duct tape. "This holds proof," he said, "and everyone who touches it becomes a target." The riders formed a half-circle, engines idling like giant hearts. Rain found the tunnel, threading silver lines through headlight cones. Gage crouched beside Micah and Ilawan. "You two gave me a chance to do one decent thing before I die. No, you have to finish it if I don't." Micah shook his head. "We're kids." Gage smiled sadly. "So was I before someone showed me hell." He pressed the flash drive into Micah's palm and closed his fingers. "Coalbridge used to have a freight warehouse near the river, the one with the burned roof. That's where Vale keeps them. Not goods, people." Ilawan flinched. "We can't fight that." "No," Gage said, "but you can show it. There's a journalist waiting in the hills. Name's Mara Quinn. Find her. From the far end of the tunnel, headlights bloomed again, this time boxy vans. Gage cursed under his breath. "Run west with the bikes, now!" He stood, turned, drew a hidden sidearm. "Go!" The angels roared to life. Gunfire cracked, metal screamed, and light turned violent. They ran beneath roaring engines, chased by echoes of bullets striking walls. Sparks lit the tunnel like a strobe nightmare. Elowen stumbled. Micah dragged her up. Behind them, Gage shouted something drowned by thunder. A flash, a scream, the kind that empties lungs forever. They burst into open night, rain cutting like wire. Angels flanked them, guiding toward the tree line. One rider shouted, "Stay low!" A blast ripped behind. Gasoline bloom, tunnel mouth collapsing into flame. Idlewin turned back once, saw Gage silhouetted against fire, unmoving, arms raised like a man surrendering to light. Then the hill swallowed him. They followed the bikers through soaked pines until the engines dimmed. One stopped beside them, tattooed woman, hair silver with rain. "Name's Rin," she said. "He's gone." "So we make it count." Micah clutched the drive like a pulse. "Where's Mara Quinn?" Rin pointed north. "Cabin with red radio tower, but Vale's hunters will reach it first." Thunder rolled. Elowen whispered, "Then we race the storm." The forest was a cathedral of noise, branches cracking, engines echoing, breath fogging in white bursts. Micah rode pillion behind Rin, Elowen gripping his waist. The bikes moved in staggered formation, tires biting mud. Lightning strobed through trees, revealing shadows where no riders were, Vale's men closing in. Rin yelled, "Hold on!" and veered across a fallen log. Micah nearly lost the drive. Elowen caught his wrist mid-slide. They landed hard on gravel beside a service road. The other angels fanned out to block pursuit. Gunfire again, muted this time, disciplined. Rin pushed the kids toward a narrow trail. "Cabin's 2 miles. Don't stop. Don't trust headlights." She tossed Micah a folded patch, the same wings and key emblem. "If you see our mark, you're safe." Then she turned, revved, and vanished back into stormlight. The siblings stumbled forward. Somewhere beyond the trees a bell tolled, metallic, mechanical. Elowen whispered, "A factory?" Micah listened. "No, a signal." He glanced at the patch, the flash drive, the road winding toward whatever waited. "We keep moving." He died so we could. The rain ended without warning. Trees glistened like wet glass. Micah spotted the red tower blinking through fog, a single pulse of color like a heartbeat. They climbed toward it, soaked, shivering. The cabin waited quiet, its windows black. "Mara?" Elowen called softly. No reply. Inside smelled of coffee gone cold and wood smoke long dead. A mug sat on the table, still warm. "She was here minutes ago," Micah whispered. Her radio hissed static. He turned the knob. Vale security forces deny involvement. Then the power cut. The back door slammed open. 3 men in grey coats. One grabbed Elowen before Micah even moved. The other struck Micah's temple with a pistol butt. He fell, vision swimming. "You're a popular kid," a voice said, calm and amused. Through blur, Micah saw him. Richter Vale, suit spotless despite mud. "You took something of mine." He knelt, thumb tracing blood from Micah's cheek like a signature. "That flash drive? It belongs where pain belongs, hidden." He nodded. "Take them downstairs." The basement smelled of rust, bleach, and something older. Fear that had learned patience. Elowen's wrists were zip-tied behind a chair. Micah hung by chains, bolted to a beam, bare feet barely touching cold concrete. Vale adjusted his cufflinks with surgeon calm. "Do you know why I run my operations underground?" he asked. "Because the surface world needs its illusions, and I keep them safe from truth." He circled like a lecturer, not a torturer. "You helped a man named Gage Harlow. He stole my evidence, proof of camps, of trades nobody's supposed to see. He picked up a length of cable. He trusted you with it. That means you can give it back." The cable hissed across Micah's back, white fire blooming behind his eyes. Elowen screamed. Vale didn't look at her. "Confession isn't pain, boy," he said softly. "Confession is clarity." Another strike. "Where is it?" Micah's breath came ragged. "Buried," he lied. Vale smiled faintly. "So is your future." He turned to his guards. "Prepare the chair." They strapped Micah into a steel chair wired to a generator humming like an insect swarm. A bulb overhead swung lazily, flashing silver across puddles. Elowen twisted against her restraints until blood streaked her wrists. "Stop!" she cried. Vale sighed. "Love," he murmured. "The purest form of leverage." He flicked a switch. The current bit Micah's spine, white explosion, then black. Between shocks, fragments surfaced. His mother's voice saying, "Tighten until it's right." Gage's promise, "Hold the key until fear moves." Somewhere deep inside, the biker's spare key warmed against his chest like a heartbeat refusing orders. Vale leaned close. "Give me the drive and you can die quickly." Micah forced a grin through clenched teeth. "You'd never understand mercy." Vale chuckled. "Mercy doesn't build empires." He reached for the switch again, but the lights flickered. An engine thundered outside, followed by dozens more. A guard shouted. Another ran for the stairs. Vale froze, irritation slicing his calm. "What now?" he hissed. The answer came. A horn, long and low, like vengeance breathing. The wall shook first, then the door. Headlights flooded through shattered boards, painting the basement in spinning halos. Chainsaw roars of engines filled the air. The angels. Vale backed away as bikers stormed the stairwell, leather glistening with rain, eyes furious. "How?" he started. Rin's voice cut through smoke. "He left us coordinates before the fire." "We finish what he started," gunfire answered. Guards dropped. Rin cut Elowen loose, then swung the cable knife to Micah's bonds. "He's alive," she said, voice cracking with relief. Micah slumped but raised his head. "Drive." Inside jacket, she grabbed it, tucked it safe. Vale lunged for a fallen pistol. Rin's boot caught his wrist with a crack. Micah stumbled forward, pressing the still warm key into Vale's palm. "That's all you ever wanted, right? Control?" He twisted Vale's hand until bones popped. "Now hold your own fear." Above, thunder became engines again. Angels lifted them out, blood, smoke, and victory in exhaust. Behind them, flames consumed the house, and with it every hidden scream. By dawn, the storm had burned itself out. The riders formed a ring at the cliff's edge, overlooking the river. Micah sat propped against Rin's jacket, Elowen holding his hand. Mara Quinn emerged from the tree line, camera dangling, eyes wide with disbelief. "You found it?" Rin nodded, handing her the drive. "Show the world," she said. Mara looked at Micah. "You're just a kid." Micah's voice rasped. "That's why it has to matter." Behind them, black smoke still coiled where Vale's fortress had stood. Sirens approached, distant but growing louder. Rin crouched. "When they ask, tell them truth rode with angels." Micah managed a faint smile. "And two poor kids." She brushed a grease mark from his face. "Not poor anymore." The first helicopter appeared, camera flashing, broadcasting wreckage and redemption to the world. Elowen whispered, "He didn't die for nothing." Micah squeezed her fingers. "Nobody does if somebody remembers." He looked at the rising sun, bleeding through smoke, and for the first time, the light didn't hurt. 3 days later, the story broke everywhere. Teenagers help expose secret torture network. Drone footage showed the burned compound, the rusted cages, the broken chains. Coalbridge, once just another forgotten dot, became a synonym for courage. Micah woke in the hospital, sunlight pooling on his blanket. A nurse adjusted his IV. "You've got visitors." He expected cops. Instead, a dozen bikers filled the doorway, leather-worn, patches damp from rain. Rin stepped forward, helmet under one arm. "We lost 5 that night," she said softly. But the road remembers. Micah struggled to sit up. Vale? Gone, Rin said. Mara's footage reached the networks before dawn. Elowen entered behind her, eyes rimmed with exhaustion, but glowing with quiet pride. She placed Gage's spare key on his tray. It's yours now, she said. He said it belongs to whoever doesn't give up when it hurts most. Micah turned the key in his fingers. It felt heavy, human, and holy all at once. Outside the hospital, rows of motorcycles lined the curb like sentinels. News vans jostled for shots, but the riders stood guard, unbothered. Reporters called them criminals, angels, saviors, depending on the channel. Micah watched from the window as Rin raised 2 fingers in silent salute. The gesture meant everything and nothing, a language older than words. That night Mara aired the footage. The cages, the ledger of names, the men whose hands had built pain for profit. The world watched and could no longer look away. Donations poured in for survivors. The angels disappeared quietly back to the roads that raised them. Micah and Elowen didn't. They stayed in Coalbridge, helping coordinate the rescue efforts, mapping each name from the flash drive to a real person. One by one, faces once erased began to surface. Every time a family was reunited, Micah tightened his grip on the key, reminding himself the point wasn't revenge, but repair. He whispered to Elowen, "We fix what's broken, right?" She nodded. Always. Spring came early that year, soft rain washing soot from the streets. A memorial stood where the cabin had burned, a steel chain welded into the shape of wings. Rin returned, carrying Gage's repaired helmet. "He'd want you to have it," she told Micah. He traced the scratches, reading the road scars like Braille. "We'll build something," he said. "Not a monument, workshops, classes, safe spaces. People who've been hurt need somewhere to use their hands again." Rin smiled through tears. "Then call it the Key Project," Elowen added, "or maybe Wings and Chains, because freedom still remembers what held it down." They laughed softly, the kind that feels like healing. Later that evening they held a small vigil. Mara filmed quietly, capturing the flicker of candles reflected in oil puddles. The engines started one by one, each biker revving once, respect, not noise. The sound rolled down Coalbridge's valley and settled somewhere between grief and gratitude. Months later, Micah stood under a new sign welded from salvaged metal, Wings and Chains Youth Garage. The old rail yard had been cleaned, repainted, reborn. Inside, kids learned to fix bikes, engines, and themselves. Tools clanked in rhythm with laughter. On the wall hung Gage's photo, beside a quote painted in white, "Hold the key until the fear moves." Reporters sometimes came, but Micah didn't talk much. The work spoke louder. One afternoon, a woman arrived with a teenage son, thin, silent, eyes like corners. "He doesn't talk anymore," she whispered. Micah handed the boy a wrench. "Then let him listen." Hours later, the kid smiled faintly at the hum of a running engine. Elowen watched from the doorway, whispering, "That's what you do. You make broken things remember they can move." Micah tightened the last bolt, stood back, and said quietly, "Not fixed. Just alive again." The boy nodded once, like he understood. That night, Coalbridge glowed under a soft orange sky. The last riders of Gage's chapter rolled in without noise, engines purring low, headlights cutting gentle arcs. Rin dismounted, left a small silver patch on the garage step, Wings and Key Brotherhood. "He'd say the road never ends," she told Micah. He smiled. "Then we keep riding it, one life at a time." Elowen dimmed the lights inside the shop. The sound of engines faded into the horizon, like a promise stretching beyond sight. Micah looked at the key hanging above the workbench, polished now, framed in steel. He whispered to it like prayer. "You opened more than locks." Rain started again, soft and steady, washing the town clean. The camera pulled wide, streets glistening, candles flickering, engines echoing somewhere unseen. In a town once forgotten, two kids had proven that even pain, when faced with mercy, can be rewritten into light. If this story reached you, don't just scroll past. Subscribe, like, and share it so the world remembers. Even in the darkest cell, courage is the spark that builds freedom. Every new subscriber helps one more story of hope find its road. Ride safe, stay kind, keep your engines true,